Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. And that's it. Yeah, you just hit a button these days, and now you're live.
And off it goes.
Off it goes. This roller coaster has begun.
There we go.
I am excited to introduce everyone to my guest today. In fact, I've known him for years. I bumped into him a long time ago when my company was working with his company, and it was software, and we got to go to a conference. I don't even remember that conference. Was California or something?
Yeah, San Diego.
Was it San Diego? Man,
Yeah.
That was a great time. I just remember a massive table of hors d'oeuvres and great weather, you know. Meanwhile, back home in New Hampshire, things are crazy. But so I've known him for years, but he is actually the things he's done since we first met. So many things to talk about. Highly published keynote speaker, digital marketing leader, thought leader, as well as in the world of the agile marketing leader. One of the top 40 digital strategists in marketing on one of the lists there. He is a fractional CMO. He's a chief marketing officer, a fractional CMO at Origin Email. And Ryan Phelan, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Casey. Glad to be here. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, there's so many things to talk about, so many things to get into. So let's just kick it off here.
Cool.
I'm going to pass you this thing. It's heavy. Oh, okay, God.
Oh, there we go. Thor's hammer.
I got it. All right, you got it.
There we go.
Okay, good. That's Thor's hammer. And you need to take that and smash for me some kind of myth, bogus strategy, misconception that just drives you crazy. Set the record straight once and for all.
All right, cool. Let's see. The biggest one I like. This is when I go in and present to B2B companies, the one thing I start with is to be a great B2B marketer. You got to be a fantastic B2C marketer.
Yes.
And then I pause, and everybody's face goes, "Oh no, you're wrong. We don't sell dresses. We sell SaaS." No. But then I like to do it the opposite way. I go into B2C companies and I tell them, to be a good B2C marketer, you've got to be a really good B2B marketer. Like, no, we don't sell SaaS. We sell dresses. And the myth is that they are two siloed environments that never shall pass. But that's absolutely not true.
Interesting.
B2B has perfected marketing automation and recognizing intent and nursing somebody along a journey and recognizing intent and serving messages through email or social or ABM or whatever that is. Right? Sound familiar? That's what we're trying to do on the B2C side. And B2C has perfected UX, has perfected how people shop online, where they shop, how they find information, navigation, organization of information, product description, all that kind of stuff. Now that applies on the B2C side, or B2B
giving them
side.
Power and control over the sales.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, exactly. And the truth of the matter is that your first site that you went to on the internet when you discovered the internet wasn't, if you're a B2B marketer, it wasn't a B2B site. It was shopping, it was news, it was entertainment, it was Nickelodeon, for God's sakes. People are trained on the B2C side, and they have those same expectations on the B2B side.
Right.
And so if you don't meet that expectation, you're seen as an outlier, and you're seen as broken and not in touch with reality.
You need to meet those buyers' expectations.
Yes.
If you don't, worst case, even you look sketchy, and you're just going to halt all the trust that is necessary to make a purchase, B2C or B2B. You're halting that because they don't trust you, because you don't smell like a duck or whatever the quote is. Yeah.
Yep. Huh. No, that's exactly right.
How long does it take for you to explain that to people before they come around? Or do you have any naysayers that just flat out reject you as soon as you say that?
The best example, I presented to a very large bank here in the States.
Okay. Yeah.
And everybody's in a suit. I'm in a suit, which if you know me, rarely happens.
Impressive. Well, I
But
think I seen a suit. Now you're probably in a cool blazer or something.
I usually don the blazer and a polo and
Yeah,
jeans.
yeah.
That's about as dressed up as I get.
You were
And
like legit suit tie.
I was, yeah, I was in the nines. It looked like I was going to an
Damn.
interview. And I don't even wear that to I don't even wear a suit to an interview.
No.
Um, and I stood up in front of all these executives, senior vice presidents, EVPs, SVPs, and I said that, and the whole room just got all kinds of dysfunctional. And it took me a good 20 minutes to get everybody back in line and convince them that that was the way we were going to go, because they all kept wanting to argue that they were a bank and that they didn't need to have that much of a relationship. It's about the money. I said, yeah, but you got my money. And so that's probably the longest that I've taken. Most audiences I get to are like, okay, you're right.
Right. Because we
I
kind
hate
of
to
know. We kind of know.
kind of know, but you just don't want to admit it. You don't want
Right.
to admit that the B2B world can inform how you're doing B2C, right? Or
Right.
the other way around. But once you
Um,
get that, it unlocks these ideas of what can you accomplish.
it's funny that a bank was the one that was freaking out too, because
Yeah,
I can't think of too many other things that are more blurry than a bank in terms of B2C and B2B. They actually sell to businesses as well as consumers. Like
right.
I couldn't think of anyone more appropriate. They purposely do both.
Yeah.
So why not, give a little bit of that relationship to the consumer side,
It's the competition between the groups, right? Because you have the consumer banking and you have the
Oh,
business banking, and they don't want to play well with each other. They don't want to have to say, "Hey, can I borrow some tactics from the B2B side?" or vice versa. And so there's a natural competition.
that's tough.
Yeah,
That'd be the challenge the bank president has to then sort of figure out how to align those two and make them act like each other.
yeah.
Maybe
It's
they get
fun,
like they get handcuffed together and they get dropped off in the woods, like 80 miles
right?
from
Right.
civilization. And
Paintball guns and all
yeah,
kinds of
yeah.
stuff, right?
One person
What
has a
was
knife, one has a flashlight, and that's it.
right? Didn't there a game like that when we were kids? Um, what
Right.
was nice is though
It's called
everybody in
scouts.
the room, yeah, well, yeah. Um, everybody in the room was senior enough that once they got it, then it cascaded down to the rest of the groups, and everybody was given permission to do that. And it wasn't looked on
Cool.
upon as negative. And so the outcome was great. The getting there was the painful part, but it all paid off. It was fun.
Right, right. I like that. I like that. So you're able to get them to see that B2B. I need to introduce you to Juliana Casale. Or Casale actually is how you say her last name.
Okay.
It's so confusing, but she's up in Toronto and she was ranting on the same thing. I need to get you guys to get
Yes.
together because you both feel strongly about the same thing, but not everyone says this. I don't know why not everyone says this. I mean, I don't even always say this because I also see the differences between the two. And I think
Well, there's
sometimes
vast differences.
when you say that they can work together, you think, well, does that mean they're the exact same? And maybe, but there's
Yeah.
differences, but there are also so many similarities. I think we can toss that
How
out.
I describe it is that there is a base strategy that each side has. And what you have to do is overlay your adaptation of what you're trying to accomplish. So marketing automation on the B2B side is more is very regimented. It's very timed. It's very verbose. It uses
Mm,
all kinds of different stuff. But the theory of marketing automation and how B2B does it is the strategy. I take that over to the B2C side and I overlay my consumer strategy, which says I need less text. I need it to be less involved. I need it
right.
to work in a shorter period of time. I have a I have a window of opportunity that's a day, not 30,
Right.
right? And so you overlay your individual behavior, but you do it on the base strategy that the sector has, and
Yeah.
that's how you approach it. You don't just copy, but you have to adapt it.
I copy and adapt it, but learn from those things. And
Hmm.
I guess one of her points too was like either way you got to get to know your buyer. So
Yes, you can't do any of this if you're sitting there and don't know
yeah.
who each each of your different cohorts is, right?
Okay.
We and this is what I spend a lot of time working with clients on, is that they think that I need to know my buyer. Well, which buyer? Are you looking at
Yeah.
the buyer that is the instant buyer, the person that needs coupons all the time, the person that, there's, I used to have a slide, there's like 12 separate buyer types for a typical e-commerce company. And you have to be able to know each of those in order to
Do you know their
power
names?
communications.
Do you know their names in alphabetical order?
No, I know that some examples are the discount buyer, the instant buyer, the full price buyer, the occasional, the one time, that's all I got.
That's impressive, by the way. That you get double points for each one. I can see this is like buyer persona work, like you would do in the
Yes.
B2B world, and different people buy in different ways, and some are occasional. I was waiting for you to say like one that I fit in, which is like the hesitant is still reeling from his last buyer's remorse, doesn't want to.
Right.
It is like looking for excuse not to, and
The therapy buyer.
Yeah. I'm stuck in quarantine. What can I buy right now on Amazon?
Yeah. Oh no, totally. There was a study when I worked at Axiom. They did a study.
Okay.
And they looked at fashion buyers, and it was an incredible study. I think it's still out there. It's a few years old. But what they did is they broke up the fashion buyer into like 6 deciles, 6 cohorts, right? And what they found is that in the top 2 most popular deciles, those groups of people were first full price buyers that bought it because of the logo, and the second most popular were women who wanted to see what it would look like on them. So they go in the store and they would try it in the store. You didn't get anything on discount until you got to the third group. So when I talk to customers about your customer, right, I break it out and I say, in those first 2, if you offer them a discount, you're actually not giving them anything they want. What they want to know is, what's the logo and how does it look on me?
Yeah.
And if you've offered a discount, you've just given up margin.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and they didn't even want it, but no
they
one's
didn't want it,
no
but you gave it to them. You give up margin all day.
And they're not doing that price shopping. So that might actually cheapen the logo in their opinion, because they want to be able to say, no, I got this thing and look how crazy expensive and awesome it is.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They don't care. They really don't care about price.
It always makes me wonder about whenever I see on a shopping checkout, whenever I see coupon code, a little square for that where you can enter it, and I don't have one, I go looking for one.
Oh yeah.
It's those kind of things that, but to your point, to highlight that for someone who doesn't need it, you're losing out on money.
Right.
It's trying to put someone, in the B2B world down a journey they don't want to go through. I was chatting with Adele Ravella, and she mentioned talking to John Deere, doing some buyer persona work for them. And this one piece of equipment, like, 8 geographies, 6 industries, all different use cases. They only had 2 buyer personas. There was like the experienced person who was like, I need to see a comparison chart. Don't you dare call me. I know what I'm doing. Then there's the opposite. He was like, I'm trying this for a new approach to this industry. I really am nervous about it. Can someone please call me? Right. And it's like, if you do the opposite for the wrong one, to your point with the fashion buyers, you're not serving them, and you might actually get in the way of them doing what they want to do.
Well, and what's funny on the B2B side, if you offer a discount from a brand equity standpoint, that can be a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you have a coupon code, if you're a SaaS person, if you have a coupon code on the checkout page, it's horrible, because you're saying some people got this cheaper than what you did.
Yes.
And that can
I hate bartering.
Yeah, you can diminish the brand, you can diminish the product, you can lose the sale, because people on the B2B side are putting their jobs on the line to get the product that is going to best serve their company. Well, you have to think about all those things. And that's where in the buyer personas, B2B has always been much richer and much more detailed in their buyer personas. That's what the B2C side can learn from, is what does a true buyer persona look like? Everyone I've ever seen on the B2C or B2B side, amazing detail. The ones I see on the B2C side are less than accurate. Right?
Tip of the iceberg kind of thing.
Yeah, they just don't have the depth.
It makes total sense. I mean, how much better would we be if we learned and like just put down our ego or whatever it was that was preventing us from playing in the
I,
other playground?
I wouldn't have a job. See, then I wouldn't need to stand up on stage. And,
That's true, but I think even even if we got some people doing it, there's still people that
oh,
need
there
to
is.
get in there and beat them over the head with a
There
baguette
always
or
is.
something and be like, "Come
There
along."
always. The fracturing of the corporate ecosystem
Yeah.
is the, and I've worked for companies that failed not because they didn't have a great product or brand or advertising dollars.
Yeah.
It's because, and I worked at a very large retailer a long time ago, and the fracture between the online business unit and the in-store people
Oh.
was as huge as the distance between here and the UK. They didn't want to play on that side. They didn't want to play with each other. They didn't. And what that ends up doing is limiting innovation.
Oh yeah.
And it is and has destroyed a very good company merely because people didn't want to admit that the online group actually had value and that the in-store group actually had value. It
Yeah.
was a battle over dollars.
Ugh. Jeez. I mean, there's so many cool things you would get from just being a fly on the wall on either team, just to kind of
Yes.
borrow from.
Yes.
Big borrow steal. I remember just listening into a sales call one time on the B2B world, just listening in to this supposed lead that was being called, and they didn't know what was going on. They weren't even like, "Who are you guys? Why are you calling me?" I was like,
Right.
"Wow, that is not a lead. That's not a qualified lead. It's not even a lead. That's terrible. That's a name that we forced you to call. Let's fix
Yeah.
this right now."
That
There's so
dialing for
much,
dollars. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so much power to that. But I guess marketing's easy, right? And everyone can do it.
Yeah, that's the other myth. Gee, many Christmas. If I had $1, um, I am constantly amazed at the number of people, very smart people, that just think marketing is just so easy. And they
Hmm.
look at you and they go, we'll get this a lot in our business is somebody will ask, hey, how much to create all these emails and all this stuff? And we'll say, well, it's 3 to 4 weeks, right? If it's a really in-depth kind of a thing. And they're like, 3 to 4 weeks? You can get this done in a couple days. Come on, this is easy. This is just email. I'm like, no, it's not just email. In marketing, people will come in that have no experience in marketing will come in and will start fiddling with marketing and saying that things need to be this way and this way and this way. And it's like, marketing is a science. Marketing is an approach. Marketing is a mindset.
Yeah.
It's not for the weak of heart, right? It's not, I've worked in the fractional CMO stuff. I've worked with enough companies that they'll come in and they'll have this harebrained idea and I'll say no, and they'll try and debate it. And it's like, listen, you can do it, but you're wasting your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
because you have to have this. I talk to a lot of companies about the global perspective, and not global
Mhm.
as in earth, global as in my industry. And you have to instantly be able to measure what you're going to do against the reactions of your competitors, the industry, the customer,
Yeah.
and the prospect. And that takes a lot of learning, and it's not something somebody that has no experience in marketing or light experience in marketing can come in and try and mimic.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do people think that? Why do they like? Why is everyone kind of a closet marketer?
Because I think everybody's got a good idea every once in a while. And I do.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of ideas from a lot of people that
Good
are in
point.
technology or product or whatever. And there are some great ideas out there, but just one good idea doesn't mean that you're now a marketer.
It's
It
true.
means you had a good idea, right?
I think yeah, people like to brainstorm. Some people, and
Mhm.
then it's like, here's this idea, but it doesn't mean we just automatically go with that idea. It's like let's throw it into the marketing brainstorm
Right.
pool and let's figure out if it
Right.
should go. Yeah.
Hey, marketing, you should go do this. Why? Because it'd be really cool. No, it wouldn't. Or it's too hard, or it's not in our right target market, or whatever. I think in any department that I've seen, marketing is the one that has to defend its turf the most. Sales, nobody wants to be a salesperson. Product is too technical. Programming, no thanks. Finance, I can't even balance my own checkbook. But marketing, I know a good commercial when I see it. Well, that didn't make you a marketer. That just makes you a consumer.
Yeah. You know,
So,
I will say I one time had a quarterly meeting for my company, and half the people in the room either had an undergraduate in accounting or
mhm.
were previous finance person in a past life. So we had that
Yeah,
kind of question where, you know, the CFO brings up a thing and then everyone else is like asking him how he's doing revenue recognition. This is one of those conversations you don't even want to hear. But like then they were debating that too. We're like, okay, does this even matter? What do we're debating
yeah.
financial terms here, but like that doesn't happen very often for those people. But it seems to happen a lot in the marketing world.
It does, and it's and here's where I think the big reason is everybody has everybody in your company has a specific view of who the customer is.
Okay.
For the product person, they have a product view of the customer or of the prospect, right? Or of the consumer. Your finance people do, your marketing people do, your technology, your sales, they all have this persona in their head of who the marketer is because they need that to complete their job. They need a figurehead of who they're working toward, right? But in marketing, what marketing's trying to do is pull all those together and find the right one and the right path. So you present a marketing plan, and if there's 12 people in the room, 12 people will have an opinion about that marketing plan that's not based upon a global view or on a view of a certain demo or target market or whatever. They'll have a view of who that customer is, and their idea is right. And the problem with that is that there can only be one idea of the customer outward facing for any company, and that has to be marketing. That has to be the CMO, that has to be the head of marketing, whatever you want to call it. But that person is responsible for the outward sign, and we'll get into this later. There's a religious phrase, outward sign of an inward grace, right?
Okay.
So outward sign of the grace of the company, the idea of the company, the equity of the company, that can only be expressed one way, and the marketing person has to be that person to do it.
Now, before I ask why on that, I want to say I think the mic drop moment would just occurred where you talked about everyone has their own shaded, tinted view of the customer, their own lens based on their department, and then marketing
Yeah.
seems to be the one that we're like that weird telescope. We put all the lenses in front of it, and all the filters. You see all the colors. And you're looking globally across everything, and so because of that overall view, when you said it, 12 people in a room, yeah, what marketing's talking about
12 people.
impact each and every one of them at some point in time. Now, but why does marketing, why are they the ones that are showing the outward sign?
Because they're responsible for lead generation, they're responsible for sales, they're responsible for getting people to the door and keeping people in the house. Sales is going out and talking about selling, right?
Yeah.
Sales is great to sell, but what are you selling? Well, you're selling a product. Well, how do you describe that product? Well, you got to go to marketing to find out how to describe that product, because marketing has to be the end all and be all on how we describe the company, how we
Mm-hmm.
describe ourselves, there can only be, as a Highlander reference, right? There can be only one.
Yes.
You can't have 12 people deciding how to describe the company. That's why when I come into B2B companies, one of the first things I focus on is what are your unique selling points,
Yes.
your USPs. And I tell them, and every company has like starts with 12, right? And it's like, no, you can't have 12 USPs. Well, these are the things that we do different. No, that's different. That's not unique. And
Right.
we go through this long exercise. And so we get at the end of it, and I'm like, great, we've got 3 USPs. They're solid. Nobody else is doing it. This is how we distinguish ourselves in the industry. And then people go, okay, now what do we do with it? I said, you need to make every salesperson, every outward person in the company memorize it. Because
Yes.
when they ask about who is XYZ, they need to say those 3 things, because that's how we describe ourselves.
Right.
Advertising is going to be talking about those things over and over again. But you need marketing to pull that together and to communicate this. It's not that the
Back out to
products
all the different groups,
back out
right?
to all
Yeah.
the different
Yeah.
groups and to the external company or the
Yeah.
customers. Companies can only sing one song. And if you sing different songs, then people are like, well, do I like country or rap or reggae?
Well, isn't that the problem? Don't many companies, most companies sing multiple songs. The sales sings their tune. Then, God forbid, customer service or the product sings a different tune that sales was singing.
Mm-hmm.
Then that you have disconnects and unhappy customer experience in
Yeah.
it.
You have a confused brand message. You have a confused brand equity. And that can be death for a company.
Right. Right. Or they don't let marketing unite all of them, all the songs into an
Yes.
orchestra piece. And so marketing, you have your own thing. Sing whatever you want, but stay out of my song. And then no
Right.
one sounds the same. And you have like, it's not really the same company, but it is. It doesn't make any sense. And it's weak. Makes the
Yeah.
song weak, I think, overall.
And the research on the USP is put your best thing forward,
Mm,
right? This is what we're known for. This is it. This is what's best. Instead of a salesperson thinking, this is really cool. This heat map thing is amazing. We're going to push that every time I talk to somebody. Well, what if I go back and I say, everybody in the world has a heat map, so it really doesn't make a damn bit of difference.
right.
What really makes a difference are these three things that we know no one else can beat us at. That's the important part.
That can be hard, though. I've tried doing those,
Mm-hmm.
even for my own company. And you're like, is that really, you're right. I
Yes.
mean, I might start with 12 or I might start with 0 and be like, what is unique? And I mean, any tips for how companies can create
Yeah.
these?
When you have 12, the way to get to 3, I usually tell companies you have to have at least 3, and 3 is fine. And
Yeah.
then everybody comes back and goes, why 3? And I said, because people remember in threes.
Yeah.
If you listen into an infomercial, you hear the phone number 3 times, right?
Huh.
It's easy to remember. Um,
How many times?
3 times in a 30-second commercial or a 15-second commercial, you hear the phone number repeated 3 times in a row.
Got it. Wait, one more time. How many times do you hear it?
You're funny.
Ah,
So, um, so to get from a zillion of them down to 3, I do the BS test. And so I take the Confederate view and I make them prove to me that that's truly unique. And I define unique as nobody else has it. Not we do it different, no one else has it.
not different. Yeah.
And so the marketing person or the fractional or the consultant has to play the Confederate to push everything back to them and go prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it. Well, they do this, and you have to really challenge them on everything. The last company I worked for, they had 15. I walked in, it took us 3 months to get to 3
Interesting.
because they all kept wanting to argue differentiation. And so we created 2 tabs, unique and different. Different could be used once you've explained unique, but unique
Mm,
had to be first. And so you get to that then to go from nothing to something.
mm-hmm.
If they have nothing and they can't come up with 5 ideas in an hour meeting, then you don't have a problem with your USPs. What you have a problem with is competitive analysis, product knowledge, all those things that says, who are you to the industry? That generally shows that people don't know their space as well as you think they do.
Interesting.
So then you work with them on, okay, we do a competitive analysis. We start going through and we start vetting this and we start la, 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 la. And some things aren't tied to product. I have one company that I work with and thought leadership is their USP, but they have a gravitas to stand on.
Hmm.
They have a belly of work that actually is unique and it stands above the rest.
Interesting.
Great. It can be a soft USP, but it also can speak to that they haven't designed the product outside of copying the competitor.
Does this work for services? And are there any changes that you would do for services?
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay.
It's harder. Actually, no, it's not the same thing. I'll take that back. It's harder for services because services are soft, right?
Yeah.
But in a USP mix, I never mention price or services unless I have an award on the services because everybody says they got great service.
Yeah.
White glove, gold standard, world class, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Everybody says they have that. But unless you have an award to substantiate that, to say you're better than everybody else, then you can't use service as a USP. Price, I don't put it as USP because if you have to hang your head on price,
Oh God, right? You have
you're in
bigger
trouble.
problems.
Yeah. But I've had clients before that, honest to God, said they had better service. And it's like, you may, but nobody independent has told you that. And
Right.
that's another thing with USPs. If you have an independent entity telling you something, then you can use that to substantiate your claim. What's better, for me to say that I'm one of the top marketers in the industry, or for me to say, a really good organization a few years ago noted me one of the top 40 or top 30 digital strategists in the industry? The
Yeah.
latter has a lot of credibility. The
Yeah.
former,
I even mentioned it.
boast.
That caught our
Yeah,
attention too. Yeah.
and it's one of those things. It's boasting versus it can be verified, right?
Yeah.
So that's where services gets a little fuzzy. I usually don't use them unless I have one client that does have an award, has had an award for 2 years. That's one of our USPs.
Got it. Got it. For some of those soft, mushy things, you're only bringing it up if there's some thing you can point at that says that this
Right.
is true. Because otherwise, it's just hearsay, right? It's like
Yes.
you're just saying it, which
You're just
people
making it
expect
up.
from marketing, and that will just immediately make that message soft and not
Yes. And
strong.
especially in the initial stages of any relationship, B2B or B2C, you need trust.
Yeah.
Anything that dissuades from that trust takes a lot longer to get back. And so if you make a worthless claim up front, well, then people aren't going to trust your product if they can't trust that you're not BSing them.
What do you think about ease of use? Because that seems like
Ease of
one of those
use.
same ones where everyone says their SaaS
Mhm.
offering is easy to use.
Yep. Can you prove it?
Yeah.
I would say the same thing with service is can you prove it? Again, via an external entity, right? So does Forrester say it? Does Gartner say it? Does
Right.
G2 Crowd say it? Do your
Right.
reviews say it? If you think in the case of Trustpilot or G2 Crowd, one of those sites, right? Can you point to a stat on your page that says ease of use 5 out of 5?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can use it. You have to attribute it back to that, but you can use it if somebody independently said that.
Right.
The unique part of this is to get to what have other people said, or what is so provable that it doesn't need to be accredited, right?
Right.
But this is that's why USB development takes 3-4 months, because
Yeah.
it's a debate within a debate within a debate, full of trying to disprove things or prove things. And yeah, some of it's marketing spin to come in and say, you have XYZ, but it starts with, what can we hang our hat on?
Yeah. And I think this is the kind of necessary exercise companies need to go through. It's great that they can bring someone like you in where you're like, look, guys, at the end of the day, I'm going home to my family. So
Right.
let's debate this thing. No sacred cows here. Let's figure this thing out.
And that's the nice thing about my gig, is that I get to come in as the third party. I get to come
Yeah.
in as the guy that isn't I'm part of the team, because the fractional CMO role is different than a consultant.
Mm.
Fractional CMO role actually goes through training. I go through the same training that a new employee does.
Oh,
I
really?
have an email address. I attend the company meetings. I do, and I do some of that stuff, and I don't charge, right? And so you do all those things because you have a greater investment, and because the job of a fractional CMO is to act like a CMO, which means that he has to get in touch with the employees and their thoughts and comments. There's a lot of extraneous stuff that has to be done. And so that's what differentiates from just a consultant who's coming in to do a task and move on.
Mm-hmm. A task or a little strategic project and a little
Yes.
bit, but you're in it with them.
Yes.
You're just not full time.
Just not full time.
Yeah.
So that
Makes sense.
independence is fun, because I can
Yeah, I
come
can
in
see
and
that.
say, no, you're full of crap. That doesn't work. And I'm respectful, but in essence, I'm saying that doesn't work, and here's why. And I help companies get to the fast track, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
make the mistakes that they've made in other companies throughout the career or the time of this industry.
Yeah. I could see that being an advantage. Maybe helps move marketing forward with this sort of sneak attack because it's fractional CMO and you get things
Mhm.
done. And now you're not worried about, oh, I'm going to be out of here in, a year and a half or something. You have,
Right.
yeah. What about technology? How, buying tech, we all buy tech all the time. How can marketing leverage technology, but without losing their soul?
Um, so Rusty Warner is a great analyst over at Forrester, along with Shar Van Bosker, and a bunch. I know a lot of the analysts over there, and they're all phenomenal. Um, but Rusty and I got into a discussion once about technology and how do marketers think about technology. And there's two kind of thoughts out there. The one thought is that I want to put my marketing stack with one company and it does everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because in theory, it should all be frictionless. It should all be connected. It should all be great. And that's, in theory, that's great. In practicality, that doesn't necessarily happen.
Right.
But in theory, it's great. The other side of this, and I think Rusty has written about it a bunch, and I've written about it a bunch, is that my belief is that you should have a CRM that is fully servicing your needs, and the marketing stack is built with a best-in-class surrounding it, right? So the
Yeah.
best-in-class email, social listening,
Mm-hmm.
direct mail, all these things. And what you focus on is integration and capabilities. You
Yeah.
look at how can everybody talk to each other or talk to the CRM at the same time so that we can make those fluid and frictionless decisions. And so when you do that, then what you do is you enable the data to tell you where to go. And so marketers not losing their soul is about truly being in touch with the data, with what the consumer or the prospect is saying, and be able to be authentic in that
Mm.
response, right? Marketing is not sales. Yes, we sell things in marketing, but marketing is not sales. Marketing
Right.
is the empathetic. It
Right.
is the brand equity, it is the brand voice. It is the mission, vision, and beliefs of the company, and they need to keep that in mind and not get so mired in. And I have talked about this for the last 10 years of my career. Thinking about the strategy first and the tactics second. You come up
You
with an
do that or
idea,
don't do that?
do that.
Yeah. Okay,
Do
good.
the marketing, do the strategy first. If you get 10 marketers in a room and you toss out an idea, sit back and listen, and what you will instantly have is a tactical discussion about how to get that done.
It's true.
But what I have encouraged and written about and talked about for years is stop, take a step back, and answer the why, not the how.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me why we should do this. Why should the customer or prospect have a reason to believe? Why should they care? Do your own BS stress test on the idea,
Right.
but don't talk about tactics until you've decided that that's the right strategy.
Yeah, I've observed this too, and sometimes it feels like piranhas going after. And the other
It
thing is,
does.
it's the fresh kill too, conference or and you name it. Um, if you make an email campaign or if you make a conference title sound like it's strategy, no one comes. But if you make it sound like here's the 9 tricky tactics you've never thought of that you
Mm-hmm.
should try tomorrow, irregardless if that's even a word, it's regardless of if it fits your strategy or not. If you have a strategy, try these 9 things tomorrow.
Right.
That gets people to attend. Drives
Yeah.
me a little crazy.
Yeah. I see too many people rushing toward the tactics,
Yeah.
the how to get it done. No one cares about how to get it done if you haven't figured out why. Why? And I
Right.
walk into a lot of companies, and that's the first question I ask: why are you doing this? Well,
Right.
I don't know. It's a good idea. Well, where's the strategy brief? Where's the strategy documents? Where's the guts to this? Right? Why should I care?
Right.
And that's how I think marketers don't lose their soul, is that the more that you start thinking about the strategy of why I should be doing something, you keep your eye on the customer. You
Okay.
keep your eye on the data that backs up your supposition or your hypothesis or your crazy idea, right?
Okay. Yep.
And if you do that, then you stay a marketer because you stay true to what marketing should be doing,
Mm-hmm.
which is connection with the end user. whether
Mm.
that's a consumer or a prospect.
Yeah.
Marketing's whole goal is to have a relationship, is to connect, is to grow. And yes, there are buyer types that are just like, I just want your widget and I don't care.
And go
And that's
away.
fine.
Yeah.
But if I'm a marketer, I recognize those type of people and I don't bug them.
Right.
But if I'm not a marketer, then I'm blast them every day with 6 emails telling them to buy crap.
Yeah.
Although my
Crazy.
inbox has been great lately. Not
Has
that
it?
COVID is a great thing. It's a horrible thing, but man, my inbox has liquidated. This is like 10 years ago kind of levels.
Wait. Of not getting
Not
emails.
getting emails, not getting emails from retailers.
Oh. Okay. I'm getting a double the amount on the B2B brand
Oh, and the B2B
side.
brand, they're going crazy because B2B is taking a huge hit.
Yeah. And that feels like they're going insane
Yes,
on that one. Yeah.
they are.
Well, on that note, what's the future look like? I think a lot of us are looking at the foot in front of us. Um,
Yeah.
what kind of things can we see around the corner that we should be looking for? Positive about maybe some good things that are happening, or some things just to watch out for as we think about the next couple months, or even like what does the future hold for marketing?
Yeah. I've done a lot of writing about this. So
Okay.
my perspective is kind of looking through the hourglass and looking through kind of a lens of where we are. So we're still in this confused state.
Yeah.
Um, do I market? Do I not market? How do I talk? How do I talk to somebody in New York versus somebody in Dallas versus somebody in
Right.
Omaha?
Without
Right?
being
There's
insensitive, or
without being
yeah.
insensitive or burning down the house or
Right.
whatever it is, And so there is that confusion that's going on, and I think all of marketing has hopefully figured out that the marketing plan they drew up at the first of the year, it needs to be in the trash,
Yeah.
because for the next year and a half, it is during the height of the pandemic when everything was going on, I was encouraging companies to have a weekly marketing plan. And what we did this week was decided, at the very end of last week. And so you did your thing and you did it again. And because some things are so fluid, now you're maybe into a month or 2 weeks.
Right.
And marketers got to think about um, these short-term plans because things are so fluid, right?
Yes. Yep.
And I think that's gonna exist for a while. I think we're gonna get a small break, maybe in 1 week in August. Will be a break, but here's from a 30,000-foot view. Here's what you've got. You've got a lot of chaos and confusion, and
Mm-hmm.
companies that haven't gotten in touch with their authenticity. Then you've got the summer, right, where people try and figure out if people are going back to school, or if everybody's working from home forever or whatever. And then you've got what many of the scientists are saying is the fall. And so then you have the election, you have Christmas, Thanksgiving, family, winter, all that stuff. Then you have the new year. Then you have and if the pandemic comes back in the fall greater, I barely, some companies are like, I barely survived this one. What the heck am I going to do
Right.
in 6 months? Well, you know, that's what makes this all chaotic. And the
Mm.
goal is for the leadership to come in and approach it in a very concerted fashion to handle what they can handle and plan for what they can plan. But there's too many unknowns. I think for the next year, marketing is confused. Marketing
Mm-hmm.
is I hate saying fluid over and over again, but it is. It's just
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what's going to happen, and we can plan it. We got to have contingencies, but we don't know. And so, but I think on the far side of it, if I think a year from now, right, year and a half from now,
Yeah.
what do we get to? I think we get to, hopefully, this is my hope, is that we as marketers have learned how to, number one, all do crisis marketing, crisis
Yeah.
management. Um, but two, I hope we've learned to be more creative and to connect better.
Mm.
Hopefully we learned some empathy. Hopefully we just stopped, we hopefully stopped just selling stuff and we actually put more thought into our communications.
Right.
And hopefully it takes people back a step. And maybe that's the strategy layer. Maybe that's something else. I don't know. But I hope that people have done that. I think what you're going to see on the first side of this too is technology has flexed in 12 zillion different ways. And
Yeah.
I think that you're going to see a lot of companies have to adjust their product offering, but also offer new stuff that didn't need to be available 6 months ago, but now is available. So
Mhm.
um, it's a very different time we're living in, and if marketers are out there, they just need to keep their head level, right?
Yeah.
And take it as it comes, and it's very easy right now to get overwhelmed
Yep.
and think about too many things. And right now, what you have to do is think about this, and then move on to this, and then move on to this.
Got it. That sort of one thing at a time here. Like,
One thing at a time.
yeah.
I can know it, and use technology, right? There's a lot of technology out there that can help with this kind of stuff.
And I wrote
And
down like one
so,
foot in front of the other, just like keep walking. You keep
yeah,
doing it, keep doing it, keep executing.
and you're going to screw up. Oh, marketers are going to make mistakes. They are. They just
Yeah.
are. And you got to be comfortable with it. And
Totally.
you got to learn from it, and you got to apologize for it. You got to move on.
Totally. Had that happen to me today. And I was like, you know what? Happens. Cool.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of positive come out of it. So cool. Apologize to your point. Apologize, move on. All good.
Yep.
No
I
big.
had one boss. In recent memory, which has been my belief for a long time, but it was nice to have a C-level person say this was, listen, you're going to screw up and that's okay. Come tell me about it. And then you got to tell me what you learned from it while you're telling me about it.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't do it like 3 times, then we're good.
Yeah.
But don't, he says, I expect you to make mistakes. And I said, good, because I'm going to make them. He says, great. Fine.
They're going to happen.
Yeah.
But that's how you learn. You got to test things out.
You do, and I hope that marketers are using segments of their populations, their lists,
Mm-hmm.
to try things to figure out the right way to go
Yeah.
to really make sure their message resonates, and using technology to differentiate that message between New York, Dallas, and Des Moines.
Right.
Because it is 3 very different levels of socioeconomic behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be deaf in one and overly empathetic in another. So if you use technology to your advantage, you can avoid that.
Yeah. A lot of moving parts in all this.
Mm-hmm.
Sound wisdom, really. It's comforting actually hearing you talk about it, because it's like, we're gonna get through this. There's these things that we gotta figure out, these unknowns, but we'll get
Yep.
through it, and we make mistakes as we've learned from it, and that's good. We just keep moving on and be, to your point, you be authentic and you really just try to connect and have empathy with people. Then
Yeah.
you can't really go wrong there.
Nope. That's marketers are having to get in touch with empathy.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get in touch with emotion. It's
And if you
let's tell
don't,
this.
you're doomed.
You are doomed, and it's hard. But it's hard for marketers in some case to break out of this. Forever, marketers have always been told that you're not the customer. The
Mm,
problem is that now they are, in some
right.
respects. They're going through a quarantine. They're going through a social lockdown. They're going through an opening up. They're going through blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So now we have to tap into that. As a marketer, you got to tap into that experience. You have to let that power your strategy, let that power your direction, let that power that inner voice that all marketers have, that when something comes up and they go, ooh, I don't know if that's a good idea. You have to
Mm,
use that own experience to add into that filter.
yes.
I tell marketers all the time, the minute you take a breath in at an idea, it's a wrong idea. Stop, take a look at it a little deeper, because most of us know a bad idea when we hear it. Like, hey, I don't know about that one.
Oh, not sure on that one.
Yeah.
Well, who are you? How did you get all this experience? And I mean, take us back in time, like little Ryan days. Did you always know you're going to be a marketing leader and a
No.
fractional sage brought into all sorts of crazy companies and helping them sort through things? Like, what was it
No.
like?
I grew up on a farm north of Des Moines, Iowa.
No kidding. I was wondering where the Des Moines came from.
Yeah, yeah. We had hogs, cattle, corn.
No kidding.
13 acres, 15 acres, somewhere in there. Grew up a farm kid until I was 17. Then we moved to Des Moines. No, originally, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a fireman because
Okay.
they didn't have to do math, and I hated math as a child.
Right.
College, after I graduated high school, I did a year at a community college because I wanted to be a computer programmer, and so I was trying to learn Pascal and COBOL,
Right.
and then I determined that that was a mistake.
What about that was a mistake? Programming?
I didn't at that age. I didn't have the chops for it.
Yeah.
I couldn't see beyond the beyond the code, right?
Yeah.
Which makes sense in a little bit. But then after that, I went to a Catholic seminary to study to be a priest.
No kidding.
Catholic priest. Yeah,
How long were you there?
I was 4 years. I spent 4 years of an 8-year program.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll give you a minute because usually it takes people a minute. They're like, really?
That's cool.
Then
Well, I
they
was actually
ask if
kind
they
of
can
picturing you
swear.
like, wow, you're really nice to talk to. Like, oh, maybe this is why you're just a really caring person, and I could see how, I've even pondered being like a minister or something like that, where you just
Mhm.
want to share hope and
Yeah,
love with people, but I do like the misses a little too much.
I like the misses too. Um, People have, and the one thing that I hear a lot is people have compared my public speaking to a mass or a service or a sermon.
Interesting, like a
Um,
homily.
yes, and it very much is. I approach public speaking very much the same way that I would approach a homily.
Did they have speaker
Um,
training when you're doing that?
no, I learned because after I left the seminary, I was a DJ for 6 years.
There you go. It's like
And
barn door swung the other way.
yeah, so I went from mass every day to being at the bar every night. Um, and that's where I got my groove. That's where I got. I was always a good speaker, but I really got into it when I was in the bar because I'd
Yeah,
have.
4 years is a long time, though. That's a long
Oh
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you
Best
grow up
education.
kind of feeling like a bit of a calling in that regard, or?
No, I didn't really think about it until I was, after high school. And
Interesting.
the way I describe it to people is, um, have you ever had that perfect job? You were like, this is where I need to be. This is perfect. This is absolutely the right place,
Sure.
right? Being called to be a priest was just like that. It
Yeah.
just was like, that just makes sense. That's where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
Let's
Totally.
go there.
Totally.
And so the conversations I had to get into the seminary, I mean, there's a lot of them.
I bet.
Um, you know, it all just made sense and it all just clicked. And then my senior year of college, my 4th year of seminary, it went the other way. And it just was
Interesting.
like, I don't know that I want to be a priest anymore. I want to be a layperson. And it was like, I was very comfortable with it. My parents were comfortable with it, and everybody was supportive of it. And it just was like, that is the right decision for me to make.
Yeah.
And that's how, I've carried that feeling through to inform a lot of my career choices. It's just like, is this the right feeling? Is this the right choice?
Yeah.
And it's been the right choice. I wouldn't have changed. I would go back and relive seminary over and over again because it was great. It was best education I could have gotten.
No kidding. And so it was like an 8-year program. So you got to do undergrad, then graduate, and
Undergrad and then a graduate.
yeah, yeah. Wow, yeah. You went with your gut. You with the feeling. You were
Hmm.
listening to yourself, and that I think a lot of people could benefit from hearing that because, and it's okay if it changes its mind. You know,
Hmm.
but you
Well,
go with
guys,
it.
yeah.
And how tough would that have been if you hadn't continued listening? I think sometimes we talk about listening at the beginning, but then we have to continue listening. And if we need to change something, change something.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Wow.
we don't listen to ourselves. We don't. That's that inner voice that when you hear an idea and you go, "Ooh, I don't know," that's listening to yourself,
Yeah.
right? And um, I mentor a few people every once in a while, and that's what I encourage them to do: is listen to that interior voice, listen to
Yeah.
that peace or that disruption, and that's a great indicator of whether or not you're on the right track or the wrong track.
Right. In different trainings in the military and sniper school, they actually tell you to explicitly listen to it.
Hmm.
They're like, nope. If it says jump, you jump. Then like
Yeah, yeah.
just go for it. Because there's something to that. Now that wow, okay. So you're like you got out of that and um was any challenge of like I'm sort of like reframing who I am and then
There was a
yeah.
lot of that. There was a lot of who am I, why am I here,
Yeah.
kind
I
of a
bet.
thing, and did the nightclub thing for a while, which I really enjoyed. A lot of fun. Didn't make any money, but had a great time.
Right. No money whatsoever, but you were like the king. You're just making this.
I had free booze. That was the benefit. I had free booze, but we packed 800-900 people in the club every night,
Wow.
and it was a rush. It was better than any drug you can name.
You got
Being
it right because like they're all moving to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so then I got tired of that because I didn't see a future in it. It
True.
was a startup in 1998 that I joined in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay.
That was doing gift certificates online.
Wow.
And I came in and I did affiliate marketing and I did email
Okay.
because the CEO was my first two interviews with the CEO were talking about the stories from the nightclub. Because we would have national acts that would come in and he'd be like, oh, have you met Clint Black? And oh, have you met Merle Haggard? And all this stuff. And I'd tell him all these stories and stuff. And he put me in charge of those two things because it was like, nobody's paying attention to him and I don't know what to do with them, but you seem like you figured out. And so I did and
Wow.
had a great time doing it.
Yeah.
So,
What a cool change. You get to, and I think a lot of us are doing that anyways, just trying different jobs. And then one job's like, you definitely don't fit, you're fired. One job, you go move on. So everyone's kind of experimenting. In this case, though, you have to like, it maybe has more weight to it. Like, oh, I'm really, but at the same time, you're exploring and then you explore something else, a DJ, and then
yep.
eventually you're trying the different jobs and you're like, actually, this marketing thing is
Yeah.
something to it. Affiliate marketing can be really fun because there's people on the other end of the line and you're trying to empower them. You want to make them money. They want to,
Hmm.
it's really cool way to
I
go.
had I had fun in the affiliate space. So I founded, along with two other people, Affiliate Summit.
Oh, you
Um,
founded that?
yeah, I was one of the three.
I'm like the
Uh,
young Jedi that comes along after going like, that was like a staple. Hasn't that always been around? That's fun.
nope,
Wow.
nope. Um, we thought up that one on a cruise ship.
Nice.
But and I got, you know what, we did Affiliate Summit, and I was running affiliate programs, and I had a really good name in that space. And then I kind of just saw the future future of it, and I saw the future of email, and I saw a greater trajectory with what email could do.
Yeah.
And I really kind of got out of affiliate and went the other way and started going with email. And I've worked for some amazing companies in this
Right.
space and some phenomenal clients on the strategy side. Companies that I just, was in awe of showing up. I mean, I got to go. This is when I worked for Responses. I got to be in charge of the Lego account.
Oh, there you go.
Now, growing up, I was a Lego.
Me too.
I had everything, right? And I got to go to Lego headquarters, and I was in heaven. I'm walking through the building, and I'm like,
Where is
oh,
that? Is that Oslo or is that sweet?
no, 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 domestically. I
Oh,
think
okay.
they're on the East Coast.
Okay. Gotcha.
But got to go to there, and I've been to HP's global headquarters
Wow.
and their UK headquarters, and worked with Citibank and US Bank and all these phenomenal companies over the years, just helping them with their strategy and stuff. Um, it's been God, it's just been fun, and
Yeah.
every time I turn around, I'd get on stage, people would ask me to come speak, or I'd apply and
Mm-hmm.
get on stage, and it's the same kind of adrenaline rush that I get from being on the DJ stage, is
Right.
being on stage somewhere. And somebody asked me the other day, how can what's the largest crowd you've presented to? And I said, I think it's about 400, 450. And she said, didn't that terrify you? I said, no, the bigger, the better.
Mm-hmm.
The more people you have, the better. I mean, the more energetic I am.
Yeah.
Um, and I just love it. I just, what's great about this industry is that it's a family.
Yeah.
It's very close knit. I mean, It's one of the only industries I know where um, I am really good friends with companies that were my competitor at some point, or were complimentary to me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we would go to a conference and we would be at the booth all day and we would be trying to get the business. And then as soon as the conference was done for the day, we'd all be at the same bar having a drink, talking about home and life, family, and all kinds of other goofy stuff.
Wow.
But we're all friends. And I find this industry just amazing in its connections to other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It,
have
it,
fun.
it's like a amazing network where people know people who are connected, and
Oh
yeah.
yeah, it's the number of times I have worked with somebody and then 2 jobs later, I'm either working for them or they're working for me,
Mm-hmm.
or they know the CEO of the company I'm trying to get a hold of, trying to get a job with.
Right.
Amazing togetherness. I had an interview for one of my clients, and I did an interviewed a candidate that's trying to get a job there, and I got on the phone and I said, you come very well recommended. And it took her back. She was like, what are you talking about? I says, oh no, I've checked you out. I've talked to a number of people that know you and they all have very, very good things to say. So this is going to be a very short interview. And she was like, I'm like, listen, that's how this industry works. That's how
Totally.
this is, you know, you got to have a good reputation. You got to have, people know people everywhere.
It's so true. I mean, I just pulled it up. It looks like we had met years ago with the email and, the shopping cart and all that
Yep.
kind of thing. And then here it is, like years later, we have 32 mutual connections.
Right.
Like how does that even happen?
Yeah.
Exactly what you're talking about.
And pick another business that does that. I mean, or an
True.
industry. I mean, there probably are some, but I think John Whitfield, who runs Media Post Insider Summit conference, he once made a remark to me. I said, "How was the mobile?" Because they do all these conferences, they'll line them up and do 3 in a row or something like that.
Yeah.
And I said, "How was the XX vertical conference?" And he says,
Yeah.
"Oh man." He says they all are petty and they all pick on each other and they're all this and that. He says, but you guys, I love your guys' conference because you'll get on stage and debate with each other and you'll compete for business. But then later that night, you're buying him a drink and she's buying you a drink and you guys are having a great time and you're all best friends. And I'm like, yep, that's the way it is.
Right. Right. I enjoy marketing conferences for sure for the people. We all kind of share that overall picture. A lot of us
Yeah.
have a love of a little bit of math and a little bit of creative. Otherwise, we'd
Yeah.
be accountants or artists, but we're somewhere in between.
Yeah.
The land of misfit toys. So yeah, it can be just really a blast to just hang out with fellow marketers. Though I will say, sales does party harder
Oh,
typically.
they do. Yeah. But they don't have to be they don't,
Yeah. But
marketers always
sometimes
have in the
too hard.
back of their,
Sometimes too hard.
yes.
So marketing can be that sweet spot right
Right.
there.
It's because
Yeah.
marketers in the back of their head have this brand equity and all this stuff that's like the face of the company, and they don't want to be trashed. Although I have known marketers that would put salespeople to shame.
Right.
Um, but there were a few years where conferences were scheduled in such a way, and I can remember this one year. I saw like 5 or 6 people more than I saw my girlfriend at the time.
No, really.
Because we would come home, we would do we would do an overnight, and we would go back to the next conference. And there was like 4 weeks in a row this one year, and it was
Wow.
killing us all. We would leave one conference and say, "I'll see you in a couple days," and it was just insane. But some of these people you see more than your best friend at sometimes, but it's uh, I love it. I absolutely love this industry.
It is a crazy industry. And we're so connected. Hypothetical for you.
Yes.
Um, there may or may not be a time machine in Nashua, New Hampshire. And you can't use it now, COVID and all, but you
Okay.
get a chance to actually come visit and use the time machine. Go back in time and talk to yourself. And typically the range is right around the beginning of your marketing career when you get out of school, or this might even be before, let's say even before the seminary, right? If you can go
Mm-hmm.
back and talk to yourself, knowing everything you know, would you tell yourself, what kind of advice would you say?
I would say don't date this person or this person. No,
Would there
what I
be a
would
don't date a certain person? Would there be a
there would be a
warning,
don't
bro?
date. There would be a don't date a couple people.
Nice.
Because we all have those.
No one's used that yet. No one's done
No.
sports scores yet, or like watch out for Sherry or someone.
Oh yeah. No, I tell them all the stocks to buy when I went. But the real advice I would give is, and this took me a little bit. I'm Irish and I've got an Irish temper, which means that you can tick me off for a long time, but at some point you're going to do something and I'm just going to explode all over you.
Got it.
Right. And
Can relate.
so what I would tell myself is to always ask, not that I haven't, but there's been points in my career where I torched bridges because I
Oh yeah.
didn't care, right? I didn't take the 24-hour rule. My old mentor back when I first started in this business gave me a great piece of advice that says, if you're mad, angry, infuriated, do not reply or respond for 24 hours.
Right.
He said at the end of 24 hours, you've calmed down, the emotion is left, you've gotten back to who you are, and you know how to reply without burning a bridge. And I said I would go back and before college, probably that the gap year I had at the community college, and I just say use that 24-hour rule and realize that you're entering a world where people are very connected and your reputation is going to mean a lot. And I haven't done it too much, but earlier when I was younger, I did it too many times.
It's a perfect tie-in, right? Because we were just talking about how connected we are. And I think sometimes we get those emails, it feels like the hot potatoes thrown at us, and now it's going to burn in our soul until we throw it back at someone else. But maybe we figure out how to just lay it down somewhere and just not do the quick reply. Because things can escalate on email. You can't winky face enough to get the message across that you're not mad or you are mad. And
And the other thing is, email is an impersonal medium when you're talking one-to-one.
Yeah.
I know people, and I have learned this over time. There are people that are horrible email people. Not like email marketers. They are horrible at communicating their thoughts and ideas via email.
Yeah.
And if you're able to recognize that, then you take the insult that is clearly in the subtext of whatever he or she is writing, and you realize they're just a bad emailer. Let me take it at what they mean, not what they say.
Yeah.
And I've made a lot of those mistakes over the years, is that I would get really bent out of shape because some guy or gal would send me an email and I'd be like, what the F are you thinking?
Yeah.
And it would escalate to a point where the guy was, or a girl was like, I didn't mean it that way. And it's like, well, it came off that way. You need to realize that some people just stink at it.
Yeah, yeah, and not just sending, but receiving too.
Receiving, sending, the whole digital community.
You could explain it perfectly. They don't get it, and they think you're a jerk now. And you're like, but how did you misinterpret that at all? Maybe it was just me sending a bad email. But like either way, it's like, to your point, hold off, get on the phone. And amazing, you hop on the phone with someone before you do that, or even afterward. And it's like, wow, it's cleared up in 5 minutes sometimes.
Yes.
And
that was another piece of advice this mentor gave me is, number one, the whole 24-hour rule, but he said, at a certain point, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
He says, you have to look at, if you've got this chain of emails, you've exceeded email. You need to get on a call or a meeting or something and hash this out because it has taken too much time. I gave that advice to one of my clients' employees the other day. He says, if the person is not a great email person, then pick up the phone and encourage them to talk to you about it instead of trying to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
But you as an individual have to recognize a bad email or a bad communicator, and you have to, because they're not going to change. You've got to do the thing that heads off that bad interaction.
Right. It's your responsibility. If you are aware enough to notice it, you got to wield that power. Sometimes I wish I was the one where I was receiving the benefit of that. But if you've been granted the power and responsibility, then you need to use that and not further the flames of the argument.
Yeah. So that's what I would tell myself a long time ago.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then watch out for that gal.
Watch out for a couple. There were a couple doozies.
Couple doozies
that maybe you should rethink.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I could see as a DJ, I wouldn't blame you.
That was the cause of some of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Baby,
But
I'm a DJ. Well, this is my job. What can I do? I was made to party.
yeah. Oh, you would like to hear a song? Oh, what are you doing on Tuesday? That kind of stuff.
Oh, look at you. You were doing lead gen and you didn't even realize it.
Yes, exactly. Loved it.
Yeah. And now it's what, wine and golf and cooking and
Wine and golf and cooking. Yeah, that's my bag. I try to play a lot of golf and I collect a lot of wine and I'm the chef in the house, so I do all the cooking.
what's
And
the thing on collecting wine? Like, do you need to know something? Is this like the stock market? Do you actually just love it and you can collect it, or how does that work?
I am at probably the beginner stage, and at my level, it's weird to think that I'm a beginner. I've got 280 bottles in the house.
Yeah, if that's beginner.
Yeah, but I just like wine.
Yeah. Okay.
I like, and there's some vineyards that I like to collect, and when I find a good wine, I buy enough for me to enjoy it over and over again. We're having, we had, it sounds precocious, but we had homemade pizzas a week ago.
Oh yeah,
I
we did
reached
too.
into the and I mean I've been eating a lot of homemade pizzas lately.
Way better than all the fake stuff they throw in the.
Right, and I found this cauliflower crust,
Ooh.
phenomenal, really good. Anyway, I reached into the fridge and I pulled out a $200 bottle of wine, and I'm like, I just want a really good wine. It's not about the $200, but it was just like I really just enjoy really good wine.
That's got it. Now, was it?
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Can you like really? So I think one time we're doing some event and we hadn't met the minimum. The group I was with,
Yeah.
they hadn't met the minimum. So I was like, bring out the wine list. They're
Yeah.
gonna charge us anyways. Let's fun. I think the best they had might have been a $100 bottle or an $80 bottle. I was like, let's do that. Let's do a cab. Let's do that $80, $100 cab. But when I got it home, I don't know.
Here's the difference.
Yeah, tell me.
And I'll give you this. This is the secret insider, because I also, besides being a DJ, I also early in my career opened a restaurant.
Oh wow!
I worked for a company. I was the marketing guy, and I helped open this restaurant. When you go into a restaurant, look at the by the glass cost.
Yeah.
And then look at what they charge that same bottle by the bottle. Okay.
Yep.
Most restaurants, the glass cost is what they paid for that bottle of wine.
Wow.
Because their break even is open it and serve one glass. And so a typical wine bottle is 4 glasses.
Yeah.
So their margin is 75%. When
Wow.
you go buy wine at a restaurant, it's maybe not the same price as you would get it direct from the winery or whatever. And so
yeah, it's like times 4 or whatever.
Yeah, it is. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
So you can kind of gauge, okay, if the per glass cost is $12 and the bottle cost is 36, okay, then if a bottle on the full wine list is 36, it's actually a $12 bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So you do kind of the reverse math. But I always encourage people when they go to a restaurant to see if they have a corkage fee, and just bring in your own wine and pay a fee to drink it.
Oh.
So corkage fees can be, depending on where you are in the country, can be anywhere from $10 to $50. But then I can drink whatever the heck I want, as long as they don't carry it.
I have noticed we've drank a lot more during quarantine, a lot more wine.
Bless.
And in the past, we might, one of us will each have a glass of wine. They were like, oh man, are we wasting this bottle? We don't waste any bottles in quarantine. That's for sure.
No.
But it's been cheaper. We realized, okay, I'll go to the liquor store once every week or 2 weeks and, pick up some bottles and whatnot. And then those last for a bit. And then but it was, less than the cost of going to dinner one place. So it's interesting that you save. So that $200 bottle, was that $200 what you'd pay in a restaurant, or that's $200 outside of a restaurant? So a restaurant would be charging like $800 for that one.
I don't know what they charge for it, but I paid $800. I paid $200 direct from the winery.
Direct from the winery. So they would have to really mark that puppy up and.
It would be when they sell bottles, there's margin involved, so there is a little bit of grace for them.
Okay.
But you just have to kind of think about what's this bottle really cost.
So in that case, most of the stuff in restaurants is, I mean, if you're dividing by 4 or whatnot.
It's not really, when you get to pure bottle, it's not dividing by 4, but you can get kind
Oh.
of it's more
Ish.
directional.
Yeah.
Yeah, ish. But what I've gone in and looked at bottles of wine, and I'm like, I know you didn't pay that much for that, right? Because restaurants make a lot of their money on liquor
Right.
sales,
Right.
beer and liquor sales. So, but it was worth it. I mean, that bottle of wine was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
And it went well with that pizza, that cauliflower pizza.
Oh, it didn't care what the hell it went with.
What was it, a red or a white?
It was a red. It was a Cabernet from Napa.
Wow. 200
Alpha Omega.
A 200 Cabernet Alpha Omega.
Yep.
Wow. And you're a beginner, and you've got a couple hundred in your
Yes. I'm not as fancy, don't know all the notes and how to describe it and all that stuff. I just know that I like good wine, and I like I know what I like.
Would you ever do a sommelier class?
If they offered it on weekends, sure, I'd do it.
Right.
Because I have friends that are somms. Yeah. It is amazingly
brutal,
tough. It's brutal.
And then do you even like wine after that? I don't
know.
I'd be worried about that. Like I would not hate wine after.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know that I would like to have, and I'm trying to do this after we come out of whatever in the heck we're in, is to take some wine classes and to start to learn the intricacies of stuff. I mean, we used to live in San Francisco and would go to Napa twice a month and spend the day up there with a lot of our wineries and going up to Washington and all this kind of stuff. And I've been over to France on a couple trips and it's been fun, but I'd love to learn just a little bit of depth to it.
A little bit more. Yeah. You're almost like going to a SOM class and not being worried about if you're going to pass or fail the class.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
That's kind of like what college is all about anyways, right? You're like, I'm going to drink some here. But yeah, I could see that being fun. I think my wife would love to do some cooking classes. And she's gone to like the CIA before and whatnot. And
love those.
I would be like, hey, I'll join you. I'll be doing the SOM class.
Yeah.
Giggle,
they have
giggle.
They have a really good class.
Oh yeah, but then I think I would be a little relaxed by the time we met up after classes.
Yeah. You'd have a glass ready for her.
I would. Well, hey, this has been awesome. Where can people connect with you if they want to reach out, learn more, maybe work with you on some fractional services?
Go to originemail.com.
Okay.
You can find me on Twitter at Ryan P. Phelan. LinkedIn, of course. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, make sure to put a note on how we know each other or what you want. I generally will decline all just the, hey, I'd like to connect with you so we can join our networks. No, I don't care. I'd also tell my younger self not to accept everybody that wants to be your friend on LinkedIn. I did that early on, and now I got like thousands of people I don't know.
Okay, so what's your advice on that then? What do
don't. My rule is, listen, LinkedIn is if I am going to hire somebody, I go to LinkedIn to see who they know, right? Like you did earlier. Yeah. But if I call 5 people and say, hey, do you know XYZ? And they say, no, I'm just connected to them. Well, then the value of LinkedIn is diminished for me.
True.
And so what I put this on my page is, unless we've met or connected in some way outside of LinkedIn, I will not accept your request. Because I cannot continue to spend the time to look at my LinkedIn to say, no, I don't know that person from Adam. I just want to know that if I'm connected to him, I know him.
Yeah, and know how and know why.
Yes.
Yeah. And that way your network is actually strong and you can...
Is actually strong, yeah.
Yeah, leverage it for sure.
So.
Awesome. Well, this has been fun.
Thanks, Casey. This has been a blast. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
I have too. And, one of the things that I always like to say at the end of this is to the people listening, if you've learned something, and I know you have, because I have 2 pages of notes over here, then share this with someone. Be a thought leader, and don't just share it. Put your thoughts, put your takeaways, your own personal takeaways, of what you got from this kind of a conversation. Throw it on LinkedIn. Be a thought leader. Tag us so we
Mm-hmm.
can comment and promote you as well. But yeah, be a thought leader and share this type of information with other people. And with that, Ryan, thank you again. This is just so much fun on a Friday.
Thanks, Casey. Really appreciate it.
And for those people listening, this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.